Today we're talking with Naras Eechambadi, CEO of marketing services company Quaero. Naras, I understand congratulations is in order that Quaero was just named one of the top 500 fastest growing companies. What do you attribute to that success?
Well, I think we are obviously providing a service that companies really need. I think the integration of information, converting that into insight and actually doing something with that in terms of actionable marketing at a time when marketers are so, there's so much change going on in marketing, there are so many information sources. The ability to act on that in a timely fashion is becoming very critical. It's a critical competitive advantage for our clients, and so our services have become a great deal more valuable as a result of that. And I think we do a good job, and our clients are a big part of our success.
I imagine a large part of that is the way marketing is changing. You talked today about in the past marketing not being very disciplined, but that's changing. What do you attribute to that?
Well, again, I think because the marketing landscape has become so much more complex and so much more multifaceted. I mean, it used to be marketing was one way, then it became more interactive. Now there are so many different aspects to it with all the social networking sites. There is so many multi-way conversations happening that keeping track of all this and being effective marketers in this very complex environment requires a great deal of disciplined processes. And that's one of the things we help our clients do is to in fact put in place processes where they can leverage technologies and leverage the insight to be more effective in building good customer relationships or at a one-to-one level. And that's made our services much more valuable to our clients because yes, processes are very important.
A large part of that new discipline requires being more accountable to the C-level executives. What does that accountability look like? What are CEOs asking their marketers to prove to them?
Well, more than anything else, I think CEOs would like to understand how the investments they're making in marketing are having an impact on the business. And having an impact on the business in many different ways. One obviously is top line growth, revenue growth. The second is in terms of bottom line performance. And above all, stock performance, shareholder value. Those are the three metrics that CEOs care the most about. So when marketers often talk of accountability, they think in terms of marketing metrics such as market share and brand equity. But it's very critical, I think, for marketers to translate those measures into things that matter to the CFO and the CEO of the company. So for us, an accountability is really bridging that gap between what marketing thinks is important and what the external audience thinks is important.
And are you seeing more companies use a combination of the business metrics as well as customer focus metrics?
Yes, we are starting to see quite a few companies use both business and customer metrics. What we don't see as much, and we'd like to see, and this is something that Don and Martha have spoken a great deal about, is the linking of those customer metrics and business metrics. We've seen a rise in customer metrics. We've seen, obviously, business metrics have always been there, but the linking of the two together, I think that's still a work in progress at most companies.
Does that linking also depend on companies maybe forming cross-functional teams across the enterprise?
Absolutely. I think, in fact, that is key. I think this is a challenge that marketing cannot and should not solve on its own. They really do marketers need to link up not only with folks in finance, but also with folks, say, in customer service, for instance, IT to some extent, as well as sales in some cases, to truly come back with measures that are really comprehensive about that we measure customer measures like retention, customer value, and link them to financial measures that matter to folks that are, the Wall Street analysts, for instance.
And speaking of things changing, you mentioned how for many years the tenure of the average CMO was dropping, but this year was critical in that for the first time it's gone up. What do you attribute to this rise?
I think marketers are finally getting the message. Mm-hmm. They are in fact becoming more accountable, and they are able to prove their success. And it took them a while to figure out how exactly to make those linkages, but they're starting to solve that problem. And I think you're seeing a new generation of CMOs coming to their offices with a background in measurable marketing areas such as direct marketing or online marketing. And these folks understand what measurement is all about, understand what reporting is all about. They're comfortable with technologies. And they're comfortable with building bridges with other folks in the organization and being part of a larger team. And so I think the new breed of marketers is here to stay. And slowly you're seeing the phasing out of the old line marketers that came from more traditional communication disciplines like pure advertising or pure communications.
You talk about 6 marketing capability drivers. Can you briefly describe what those are?
Yeah, the 6 drivers are that we believe that you really need to start with strategy. If you don't know where you're going, you'll never get there. So strategy is important, actionable strategies, which means that strategies that you can execute on. And then to understand whether you are in fact achieving those strategies, you need to have good measurements and appropriate measurements, measuring the right things, as we just talked about. To get good measurements, you need good information. And information means analytics, it means the right kinds of data, it means the right kind of reporting and dashboards. And to have good information, you need to have good, robust technology. So those are 4 dimensions. And then on the organizational side, there are 2 very important dimensions. One is processes. You need to have effective processes. And as we talked about earlier, most marketing departments do not have strong processes, and that's one area where they tend to be weak. And that is an absolute must for high performance marketing. And finally, the organization needs to have the right capabilities, which means having the right skills, which in an evolving world of marketing, those skills are changing all the time, as well as the alignment with the rest of the organization. So those are the 6 dimensions.
Great. And finally, Naras, what biggest trends in marketing do you see coming down the road this year?
Well, I think we will continue to see the evolution of social networks. Most of our clients are still trying to understand how they leverage these. So some of the new things that we are seeing are the emergence of firms that measure reputation, brand reputation, company reputation in social media. And we're working with a number of clients in those areas. So the first thing is to measure what's happening in social media and then trying to influence them. That's one of the biggest trends that we see happening right now.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.